Alright, so it is Monday morning. We were not able to mow the other day when we tried. I'll show you what it looks like when a swather tries to slide up or down a hill. I don't remember which direction it was going, but it was way too muddy, not enough traction, couldn't drive up the hills. So we let it dry for a couple more days, and now we're out here trying it again. There definitely seems to be some bugs. That's what that little green stuff is on top of the header. And with the rain and the hot, and I don't know for sure, there seems to be some weeds that we're able to power through and poke their way up out of it. So it's looking a little bit like first cutting. But the windrows are pretty big and thick, kind of like first cutting. So hopefully it dries well. We're not supposed to have any big weather, hopefully, for this week, and there's some potential for the weekend. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed and do what we can and keep you posted along the way. So this is what it looks like in the field when it's a little too wet for the swather to drive through. From the first night, this is just where
this morning's first pass.
Yeah, this morning's first pass. The water piles up in the wheel track and overflows onto the field a little bit right there because it's kind of in the bottom of the swell. So the ground is extra wet right there. And luckily,
four-wheeling the first.
yeah. Luckily, the swather didn't care, or Sam had enough momentum that he could just slide through it and keep going out the other side. But
That's why we go fast. Not really.
it's just been such a weird balance of trying to get enough water in the ground to get the alfalfa to grow, but not too much water in the ground to make it a mess when you try to mow.
And then you get an inch of rain.
Yeah. But you can see right up in here where it didn't really want to go uphill very well. And it's dried out pretty well now, but that was just a slimy, muddy mess. So we've got the corners done, we've got all the hand lines moved. Sam just opened the little pivot. So now it's a whole bunch of back and forth in circles. And so far, everything seems to be the way it's supposed to be. So we are going to keep our fingers crossed for no changes or surprises as the dogs go swimming and drinking in the wheel tracks. Oh my goodness. I don't think the video does it justice. That's just, oh my gosh. A slimy, muddy mess.
The fourth cutting is over. It was an entertaining one. There's some nice heavy hay, like Brandy said, and the giant inch of rain that came through has made the low spots pretty entertaining. Off the side of the hill over there, basically couldn't make it up for probably 3 or 4 passes that were the steeper ones, so I had to do my go around and come back up and mow. But anyway, it's done. Here's to hoping we get some dry weather to dry it out, and that some of this stuff sitting on wet ground will dry out, and we'll get a decent amount of hay out of it, throw it in the barn, and keep it out of the weather.
So Sam headed out this morning and started raking just to get a little bit of a head start because he's faster than I am. And he raked the corners last night, which I thought was really nice. He didn't necessarily do it as a favor to me, but they were dry and ready to be raked, and I was at school kind of late last night, so he went ahead and raked the corners, so I don't have to do that today. So I just get to do the big circles on the big pivot and the little pivot and the space in between the pivots, which isn't hard because there's no hand lines or anything scary like fences and things that I need to dodge. So we are in the process of raking the 4th cutting, and I don't want to say anything that's going to make anything bad happen, but it's all going appropriately so far. So keep your fingers crossed for us, and I'll keep you posted. He was too fast for me, and I didn't catch him on the other side of the pivot, so I walked around to the house side, and I'm gonna meet him at the top of the hill over here when he gets here in just a second. But one thing that I did want to say really quick was, so we tried to cut, I don't remember what day, and it was way too wet and muddy and he couldn't get up the hill. So we waited a couple days, and then we mowed everything, and there were still some pretty wet, muddy spots. I think I showed you in one of the clips where he kind of skied down the hill or up the hill or something next to one of the wheel tracks that had overflowed with water. But yesterday when he was raking the corner down here, he took a picture, and I'll insert it right here. And I said it would be one of those funny tell me the ground was really wet without telling me the ground was wet kind of memes, because as you can see, those white things are mushrooms. So there was enough moisture in the ground with the hay sitting on top of it that we cultivated some mushrooms, which is not part of what we're trying to grow, but it was pretty wet, and those are pretty good sized for only having, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. That, well, I guess that might not be true. Maybe they were growing under the alfalfa before we cut it, but the alfalfa had only been down for about 3 days when he started to rake yesterday. So there was a lot of moisture in the ground, and we're hoping that even though most of the hay or most of the alfalfa on the ground has dried, some of the bigger pieces of the windrows still have some wet spots in it, but we're hoping as we roll it over that we're rolling it onto dry ground, because it has been pretty warm, and so the ground's had a chance to dry out and warm up a little bit. So hopefully we're rolling it on top of warmer dry ground, and that will help it dry faster. Plus it's all fluffed up now. So and I've said before, I just love the way it looks when it's freshly mowed, but I really like the way it looks as we're raking it, and we're just making these big, tall, fluffy windrows. So here comes my tractor. So I will go meet him up at the top of the hill, and I will take over raking. We're gonna call this segment Random Thoughts That Brandy Has While on the Tractor. First of all, I don't love the steep part of these hills, because not only are they steep, but sometimes you're kind of like tilted, so side tilt a little bit. I'm in first gear right now, and 300 RPM on the tractor, and we are just creepy crawling up this. On all of the other hills that I've done so far, and I think Sam said that the ones that he was doing, he could stay in third at about 2,000 RPM and make it up the hill. I tried that on this section, and yeah, it didn't work at all, so I had to shift down into first. So, sorry tractor if I made you work too hard before I figured that out. Second, when I'm going up these hills, I'm sure it's not, but with the rake behind us and the hill being so steep, sometimes I almost feel like, I wonder if the front of the tractor is getting a little light. Like, I don't think the tires ever come off the ground, but I find myself leaning forward and scooting closer to the steering wheel. Like, my little tiny insignificant amount of weight in relation to the whole tractor and rake is going to make any difference, but I don't know. I feel like I'm helping somehow. So those are a couple of the thoughts. The other thought I had is just how much I love this rake and what a great job it does getting all of the hay up off the field and rolling it. And it just, I mean, it looks like we came out and vacuumed it. And some people may wonder why we keep rebuying equipment that we already have. Like, why would we buy a baler if we already have one? Or why would we buy a rake if we already have one? And part of it is, Sam likes to say, neither one of us went to farm school, so we don't really know the right way to do this. And so a lot of the equipment we bought, we either bought before we had actually tried to do any of the things out here. Like, we bought the pull behind swather before we had ever tried to cut the hay on these fields. before we realized how steep the hills were, and we bought the basket rake before we realized, again, how steep the hills were and the terrain that was out here. So as we've learned a little bit more about our area, our place, we've made some adjustments to the equipment that we have and need and want to help us be able to do what we need to do more effectively and efficiently. So sometimes we end up rebuying equipment so that we get things that work better, because unfortunately we're not getting any younger, so the easier we can make this, then the longer we can hopefully do this. Also, oh, it's way prettier in person, but there's some smoke in the air, so we've got this bright red sun. But in the iPhone picture, it just looks like a teeny tiny little dot, but in person it's giant. Anyway, random thoughts. And then there was one other one that I don't know if I can remember right now. So when I think of it, I will let you know. Stay tuned. Okay, I think I remembered what my other thought was. So I get kind of, I don't know, sentimental or emotionally attached to things. I don't know for sure what the right word is. But like Sam will have a shirt that he hasn't worn for 10 years. But I remember when he would like what we were doing when he wore it, and it's like, well, you can't get rid of that shirt because you wore it when we went on that date to, I don't know, wherever or whatever. Something like that. But I know he's never gonna wear it again, and it's pointless to keep it in the closet. But every time I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was that time that we did blah, whatever. So maybe as I get older, I'll get over some of that. But, oh, this is a giant, we gotta do something about this road. These ruts in our side-by-side road are getting just ridiculous. Oh, hold on, tractor. You can do it. Holy cow. Jeez. Goodness gracious. Okay, so there's that. And every once in a while, Sam talks about getting like a little bit bigger tractor, like horsepower wise. So something maybe between the red and the blue tractor. And my first thought is no, because then I don't think we need 3 tractors. I mean, maybe we do, I don't know. And if we do, then that's fine. But if it means we have to get rid of the red tractor, the thought of that just makes me so sad, because this is my first tractor. And I love this tractor, and except for maybe not having enough horsepower to do all the things, like it can't pull the baler, but it does awesome raking, and it can't really lift 2 bales. I mean, it can, but it's tough for it, and so, you know, some of those things, but it's, oh gosh, there's a giant badger hole. Yep. So, yeah, so that was a giant badger hole. We were able to come out the other night and control that badger, and so yeah, that's nice knowing that that's not here anymore. Yeah, we controlled the badger, which was awesome. I'm just, yeah, sentimentally attached to this red tractor and can't imagine getting rid of it. So I don't know what the right answer is. If it makes it better and it makes our job easier and it gives us more options, like in case something happened to the blue tractor, we could still bail. It seems right and smart, but I love my red tractor, and it's my tractor, and it's my first tractor. So I don't know whether it's the right answer or not. I feel like if we do end up needing to get a bigger tractor or have the opportunity to get a bigger tractor, then that just means that we have 3 for a while until I'm ready to not be sentimentally attached to this one anymore. So there are no plans in the future. There is no search for a tractor actively happening, but as we've said about a lot of equipment, when you're buying things from auctions or on Facebook Marketplace, you can't really control when the inventory is available. So if something comes up and it's a good deal, sometimes you just have to jump on it, even though it's not really what you were thinking or planning for that moment, because it won't necessarily be available in a week or a month or however long when you're closer to wanting it. So sometimes you just got to take advantage of the deals when they're there. So like I said, there's no active searching, no plans for a new tractor, but sometimes the universe just has a way of presenting things to you, and you got to take advantage of it when it happens. Also, because of school starting and because of weather and because the alfalfa was so tall, I have not had a chance to be out here trying to manage and control gophers, and they have been very actively taking advantage of that fact. I don't know if we've talked about it before yet or not. Our plan, we think we're going to do it in the fall and maybe the spring, is to come drag harrow, like spring tooth and drag harrow the fields and just kind of scrub them down and get them as flat and smooth as we can. Fall and early spring, we'll be able to kind of keep up on the gophers a little bit better, and then drag harrow it, spring tooth and drag harrow it again in the spring before the alfalfa really starts growing, and then just hit it again really hard next year to where maybe we can get a handle on these guys and make a little bit of a dent. If I have any more random thoughts to share, I'll let you know. So stay tuned. So I finished raking this morning, and now Sam is out baling this afternoon. He's gonna be baling and the corners because they were mowed earlier than everything else. They got raked yesterday, and typically it's thinner, lighter hay. There's less hay. I don't know. It dries out faster than some of the bigger windrows. So he's got, I can't remember what he said that was. It scared me the first time I saw it. I thought something had exploded, but it's the baler doing something. I just don't remember what it's doing. So typically the corners and the windrows dry sooner, so he's kind of getting a head start baling those and using it as a test, I think, for maybe what some of the rest of this is moisture-wise. I don't know what he's doing right now, if he's just trying to get the baler to drop that bale over here, or if it's too wet. I don't know what he's doing. This is fun to watch. Sorry. I'm filling the pig's water, in case you're wondering what this sound behind me is. So, hopefully by getting the corners and the windrows done, it'll save him a little bit of time in the morning and kind of give him a little bit of an idea of what the moisture is right now. Because like I said, I raked all this. He raked a lot of it last night. This hedgerow that he's on right now, I kind of put back together this morning. I started about 7 and I think I was done by just before noon, I feel like. So it helped a lot that he had gone out and raked what he had yesterday and got started this morning. So very grateful for that. But that's a good looking bale. And I think if it were too wet, he would probably stop. So yeah, we'll just see what he does, and then we'll check the hay tonight. The bigger windrows, kind of the heavier stuff that we know usually stays wetter, and just kind of check it and see and go from there. But we're hoping that this may be a petting that has no issues. So we'll keep you posted. Well, we didn't make it super far baling yesterday. Sam got a couple bales done, but as he got past the hedgerows and was checking some of the hay, some of it's up to 20%. And while it's not a lot, if you get that clump in the middle of your bale, it's gonna mold. So we really don't want to make moldy bales, so we decided to hold off and wait. But it's now drizzling lightly with the potential for more drizzle later today. So it shouldn't be such a heavy rain that it leaches all the nutrients out of it, but we were really hoping to be able to have a really good cutting that didn't have any weather issues. So we'll just keep waiting. And the other problem, frustration, something, is that highs this next week are only supposed to be in the mid 70s. So we're not gonna have that really warm, sunny days to help dry everything out. It's just gonna kind of stay like this. So we don't want the hay to lay on the ground for a week either. So, like I said yesterday, being that neither one of us went to farm school, we don't really know how to do this the right way. We're just trying to make the best of what we can with what we know. And yeah, so not the end of the world, but also not what we were hoping for exactly. So we're kind of on pause right now for baling, and we'll just wait, see what the weather does, see what the hay does, and when it's ready, we'll be ready. So we did get a little bit of rain yesterday. I think it was like 0.08 of an inch according to the little weather station thing we have out here. And when we checked the hay last night, before the last section of rainstorm that came through, the top of the hay was pretty dry. The part on the ground was a little bit wet, but not too terrible bad, except for the rows right next to the wheel tracks, the outside row next to the wheel track where we turn the two into three, just because they're thicker and the way that all is. So we thought about maybe turning just those rows over so that whatever was on the bottom would be on the top or closer to the top and could maybe get some sun and a little bit of breeze if we get one of those today, which right now we don't seem to have. So, but because of the overnight rain and then just the humidity, everything is a little bit wet. So we're gonna hold off on that. So we're on, I don't know what day of the fourth cutting at this point. Sam came out and baled the corners in a little bit while I re-raked most of the 6th tower. And now he's taking over raking, so he's gonna finish re-raking, I guess, yeah, raking again, the big and little pivot. So what we're hoping is that it's going to roll the hay over so that what was on the ground and was slightly wet is now going to be facing up so that the sun and everything will dry it. It's not super wet, but it's wet enough that we don't want to put it in a bale. So hopefully by rolling it over, getting the stuff that was on the bottom, on the top, the sun and whatever little bit of breeze will dry it out, and then we can finish baling it tomorrow. There might be a tiny bit of rain coming potentially Tuesday night, but we're hoping that if it's baled, it won't be too much. It won't be that much rain, and if it's in a bale, it won't get very far into the bale, so it won't make the hay moldy. And so, as you can see, it's about 7:30 at night. I don't know if you can tell that from the sun. As you can see, the sun is slowly working its way down. It's about 7:30. Sam's thinking he should be done sometime between 11:30 or 12. So I feel bad for him for a late night, and then however long it takes to bale. But so that's where we are today, is re-raking the hay, rolling it all again, and giving it hopefully what it needs to dry. The hay itself is looking really good. Lots of nice leaves, and it's really green and pretty. So So far, that's good. Just keep your fingers crossed and hope that it can make it into a bale that way. So we'll keep you posted. Stay tuned. I can hear him, but I can't see him for sure. So it's been 11 days since we cut the hay and still on the ground. Sam is out raking it for the third time. So we raked it. It wasn't quite drying. We raked it again. I don't know if you can see kind of right out here. We did get some wind and just the tiniest bit of rain the other day. So it unraked part of it, but not all of it like in the last cutting. So he's gonna go out and try and straighten the rows back out a little bit, maybe turn it over because the stuff on the bottom still hasn't dried all the way. But we're kind of at that point now where it's a weird balance between raking it to help it dry, but not doing too much to it because some of the leaves are starting to fall off. And we don't want to just end up with alfalfa sticks again like we did in the last cutting. So this is the longest we've ever had hay just sitting on the ground, but because of the little bits of rain and then so much humidity and just moisture in the air, it just isn't drying. And every day or so, Sam will go out and try to bale and parts of it'll be fine, and then it'll just get to a part where it's just this kind of wet slug in the middle of it, and if we leave that, then it's gonna mold or rot or if you stack it, potentially catch on fire. And we don't want to sell customers rotten hay, and we don't want anybody's haystack, including our own, to catch on fire. So it's just been kind of a wait and see and try to do the best things that we can and know how to. And again, we never went to farming school, so we don't know what the right answer is, but here we are 11 days later and Sam's out raking for the third time. So that's kind of where we are with this fourth cutting. It seems to be the never-ending cutting, and yeah, so we'll keep you posted. So here we are on day, I'm not even sure what. I think it's been over 2 weeks since we mowed. We've raked and re-raked and raked and raked again. And I don't know if you can tell, it's a little dark. We just had a sprinkle roll through. And even though we're not getting, so far, not getting large amounts of rain when the little showers that are coming through, it's enough that it's keeping the part of the hay that we're wanting to dry, the stuff that's down at the bottom, it's keeping it from being able to dry. And then when it's not raining, there's still so much humidity that it's almost like the hay is absorbing more moisture. So when we got home last night, Sam raked for about an hour and then went to do a section, like a test section, and he said that the moisture meter on the baler was showing that there was more moisture than, I don't know, Friday or whenever he tried to bale the last time. So you can kind of see, I mean, there's places where a lot of it's been baled. We're figuring the stuff on the tops of the ridges should be drier. This stuff, you know, down over here in the swells and stuff obviously is going to have more moisture, so that's kind of what we're waiting to dry. It right now still has some leaves on it, but every time you move it, the leaves kind of start to fall off. So we're just really trying to not, and we don't want moldy hay, but we don't want sticks of stems with no leaves on them. And then because it's been cooler and a little, like a pretty consistent little bits of moisture, the new alfalfa is taking off and growing pretty well. And this is like mid, I don't know, shin height, I guess. This little guy right here, I mean, not all of it is that tall, but it's starting to grow back. And so where the windrows are laying on it, it's obviously keeping the new alfalfa from growing back. So we don't know. Like at this point, we just are kind of at a loss of what do we do? What's the right thing? I mean, I don't know if you can tell. The sun is trying to poke through, or it was a minute ago, but a couple minutes ago it was raining while it was sunny. Not large amounts of rain, but enough moisture that it's not drying the hay enough. I might just end this video because who knows how long this is going to go on, but I will definitely keep you guys posted if we ever do get to bale it, and to let you know what the bales looked like and what our final bale count was. But I mean, at this point, Is it just gonna have to stay on the ground until the alfalfa around it's too tall and we'll just do a 4th, 5th combined? Or I don't know. We really don't know at this point. Every time we make a plan, it seems like it just is the wrong thing. So we're learning, and there's a lot of things you can't control, like rain and humidity and sun and all those things. But like I said, we just want to, if we were feeding this to our own cows, we probably wouldn't care as much. But when you're trying to sell it to other people to feed their animals, you want it to be the best quality so they feel like they're getting good value for their money, and it's actually helping feed their animals, not selling them something that's rotten and moldy. I don't know. I mean, maybe you've gone to the store and bought a flat of strawberries or something, and there's one in the middle that's moldy, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of is, well, it's gross, but it kind of just ruins the experience. I went to Walmart, I don't know, last weekend and bought a 3-pound bag of potatoes, and there was one in the middle of the bag that was completely squishy and moldy and rotten, and it's just gross. And if that was a local farmer that I'd bought that from, I would probably never go back to them again, or not, because I would try somewhere else first, I guess. But we don't want to be that guy. So anyway, a lot of words to say. That's just kind of where we are right now, and we'll just keep trying and hope for the best and keep you posted. I think I say it every time. I really wish you guys could smell this hay. This hay smells amazing, even though it's probably a little wetter than it's supposed to be, or parts of it are a little bit wetter. So these are all of the test bales that Sam has done so far. According to the bale counter, I mean, there's some still in the field, but I think that we have baled 60 bales so far. And like I've said several times, he'll be going along and everything's great, the moisture's perfect, and then he hits this spot where it's just a wet, he calls them green slugs, but it's just a chunk of really wet green hay that's gonna make a slug in the middle of the bale that is too wet. So he's kind of gap stacked it a little bit so that hopefully air can get through it and can dry while it's sitting here in the barn instead of super tight stacking. Yeah, so this is this is our test pile. Not horrible looking hay. You know, there's quite a few leaves right here in it and stuff, so it's good stuff. There's just, if we could get a moisture meter in it far enough, you know, this would probably be 5 or 6, and then all of a sudden there'd be a chunk that's 20, 30, 40, which, you know, 20 isn't horrible, but when you want it to be around 15 or less, 20 is more than 15, so it definitely doesn't fit that criteria. So anyway, this is kind of where we're at. It smells good. It looks pretty. If I were a cow, I'd probably want to eat it. And if we could find people who are ready to feed right now, it wouldn't be a problem at all. It's just if we were to store it over the winter, it would probably just sit here and mold. And again, I don't know how common it is. I've heard of haystack fires, but I don't know how wet it really has to be. But when you put a lot of little wet pieces in the middle together, I know when I've cut open some of the bales that we put up for the pigs that we knew were too wet, when you get to that middle part where it molded, the hay is hot. So I can see where it would make enough heat to catch on fire, and I don't want that to happen in our barn or in anybody else's barn. So maybe we're being ridiculous worrying about little chunks of moisture, but for our little bit of experience that we have at this point, I'd rather be overly cautious than not and have something happen. So, all right, so this is the 4th cutting so far. We'll see if it ends and when and how much we end up getting from it. So thanks for watching.